Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Batch again, and I've decided to do a small series of videos on OpenComputers. It's a really cool mod, but it's not that well explained in some ways. So I just want to sort of put some information out there and stuff like that. This is not a video series all about teaching you the absolute basics of Lua programming or anything like that. I expect the people coming into this video or video series will know, some Lua, be familiar with OpenComputers and be looking to make the change. Familiar with ComputerCraft and wanting to make the change over to OpenComputers. It is like I said, it's a really cool mod. There's a lot of stuff going on in it. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go through how to do some of the bits and pieces, how to get computers up and running, how to make and program microcomputers, other things like that. And I also thought that instead of how a lot of people, they'll just make a little bit of a solo world and just do a little bit of a mod spotlight or something like that, it'd probably be more informative if I did it in the multiplayer world that I'm playing in at the moment. This is sort of my house that I'm building. Bits and pieces everywhere, unfinished stuff. Because I'm only part way through. So because it might be a lot more understandable if you can actually see me using OpenComputers to solve various things that I want to do in my house. Okay, so first up, alright, then this video is going to concentrate on making a computer and getting it up and running. Now, I'm running the Hermit pack, 10.2 Minecraft, and when you start this pack, you will get this book. Alright, if you don't, it's not that difficult to make. There's a recipe right there, wonderful. It's a book and a microchip. Microchip is a transistor, some nuggets, a transistor, some paper, some bits and pieces. And you're gonna burn through lots of little chips and transistors and other things like that. So if you have, like I do, some kind of a storage system that also allows a level of automated crafting, that will make your life much easier as well. So you're not going to see me doing a lot with actual recipes unless it's really specific. But for the most part, yeah, I've got this set up. It makes all my bits and pieces and stuff like that. So OpenComputers manual, yeah, very good. It will tell you some basics. This is one of the things I've noticed about OpenComputers. It's really good in terms of what you can do, but the documentation is nowhere near as good as it was with ComputerCraft. ComputerCraft was really well documented, and if any of the OpenComputers guys actually watch these videos, guys, please step your game up. Your stuff is written by people who know the mod really well, and the danger of doing that is that you'll skip over little bits and pieces of background knowledge and stuff like that, and sometimes they can be really fundamental things that you'll skip over. So, and it's also not easy to find information on your wiki. Alright, so there are a few different kinds of computers in this thing. We have the basic computer, we have servers, which is quite funky, we'll get to those in a future episode, microcontrollers, which are a stripped down computer. Quite cool, but programming these and getting them up and running is difficult, and I'll show you that later. Robots, which are the replacement for turtles, and drones, which are like a microcomputer version of a robot, stripped down, difficult to program in the same way that the microcontrollers are. We will cover that off. So here we go. We get 3 tiers of computer. Okay, now the more expensive one, the better one is more expensive. The crappy one is cheaper, as you would expect. Now, if I make one of these computer cases, right? There's here we go, computer case data. This is what you're going to start with. Drop it on the floor, and right-click on it. Oh, you can see I've got all this. This is way funky. All these slots for various bits and pieces. Like that's my processor, memory, a couple of cards, a storage unit, no access for a floppy, a little thing called an EEPROM. We'll cover that off shortly, on-off button and stuff like that. No screen, no nothing. ComputerCraft, you know, I would have a self-contained box which has some inventory slots, and that's about as far as it goes. So we have a quick look at this, right, and you can see we've got 1, 2, 3 spots that are grayed out. I have no capacity for a floppy. Everything has this little 1 symbol next to it. Most of the stuff is available in different levels and different tiers. So we will have a look at, say, this. We've got tier 1 memory, 1.5, 2, and so on. Down here at the graphics cards, we've got a tier 1, a tier 2, and a tier 3. Now you might notice that when I'm mousing over the graphics card here, it's lighting up the 2 slots here to show that this item can go into those slots. Whereas a tier 2 or a tier 3, nothing lights up because this is only a tier 1 case. It can't take tier 2 components. We move over here and all of a sudden we've got a tier 2 card slot, a 1, tier 2 memories, a tier 2 processor, a 2 and a 1 on the disk. And you can see we've gained an extra slot here over the basic one. Right? So not only can you put better stuff in, you can put a little bit more stuff in the medium case, and then over the advanced, we've actually got a built-in floppy, we've got more capacity for cards, and you know, better level bits and pieces and all that kind of thing. So as always, I think that if you can afford to build the good stuff, wonderful. Now the stuff that you're going to need to actually get this up and running, you know, you'll need, excuse me, let me ditch a couple of things that I forgot was in my inventory. Alright, here we go. So you'll need things like a CPU, tier 1 and 1.5 memory are both usable in this. Alright, we'll just grab those bits and pieces. And grab all of that. Alright, so you can see tier 1 can go in, 1.5 can go in. 1.5 is slightly better memory. So we'll put our processor in, we can put our disk drive in, and this is how you assemble a computer to get the thing up and running. Okay. We need a screen. I'll grab a piece of cable. Where's our screen? Where's our screen? Here we go. Oops. Yeah, there we go. Alright. One of the other things with like a screen is that if I place it, it'll place down facing you. So if I take this off and I put it in the floor, it'll actually face up, which is something that ComputerCraft screens do not do. Alright, so we will put our screen, we'll go dook. Alright, no worries. We need a keyboard, some means of interacting with the screen. Now that's this thing here. For some reason the texture in this particular version is not coming up. Whatever. Is not coming up, alright? So there it is. Don't worry about it, because when you place it down, facing the screen, you know, with its back to the screen, all of a sudden it turns into something okay. And we can now click on the screen, we can interact with it, if we've got power. Next thing we need to do is to get one of these things actually started up, you need an operating system, and you need a little operating system boot utility, okay? Like a proper computer, you need a little bit of ROM in order to start up the disk and load in the operating system. That's what the EEPROM is. Now, the EEPROM, quite a cheap recipe. Here we go. Wonderful. Very cheap, like I said, and then you can craft it with a manual to get a Lua BIOS. Alright? You get multiples. See, if you look at this for a good recipe, if you craft 2 EEPROMs together, you get 2 EEPROMs. Wonderful. Brilliant. Whoever came up with that, it was a genius. So we're going to have to stick our EEPROM down here. We don't have a slot for a disk. Floppy disk, this is just craftable. The OpenOS thing, you just look for the floppy. Where's our floppy? Where's our floppy? Over here somewhere. I'm blind. I can't see the damn thing. There we go. There's our floppy. It's a very cheap recipe, and then you craft it with a book in order to get OpenOS, and then you've got a Open Package Manager. You've got a few different things. You can color code your disks and all that kind of stuff, but this is the one we want, the OpenOS. That will allow us to actually start up the computer. Providing power is now done from an external source. Yeah, a bit more cable. Alright. So I've got a dimensional transceiver, which I'm just going to use for power. And I've got a power converter, which lets me turn other mod power into OpenComputers power. Hook that up, and now we should have power here. Turn it on. And we've come up with, it's just beeping. Here we go. Unrecoverable error, no boot media found. Okay, flashing light. One of your tools that you should make early on is the analyzer. You'll use this more to begin with, when you're learning, than you will later on down the track. I'm no longer using this at all, really. So if I take that and shift right click on the computer and it says no boot medium found, and init Lua, which is basically what it says on the screen, what that means is that it can't find a disk to actually read OpenOS from. We don't have a capacity in here for a floppy, and that doesn't have anything on it. So what we're going to do is we're going to stick a disk drive down here, put our floppy in, and now here we go, booting OpenOS. As you can see, it looks a bit more like a real computer system. Okay, OpenOS, 512K. Keyboards have to be attached to or placed next to a screen to work. The ironic thing about that message is that in order to see this and do stuff with it, I've already succeeded in doing so. So we've got our disk, we've got our computer, we've got our OpenOS. Now, having a disk next to your computer, maybe it's something that floats your boat. You can install the operating system onto the hard drive over here. And the way you do that is just by typing install. Install OpenOS, yes. So what this is going to do is it's going to copy all of the information from the floppy disk onto our local hard disk. Then we don't need the floppy anymore. Now you might, if you've got a bit of computer experience, you might notice some of these labels like boot, mount, and then a hex code and stuff like that is a little reminiscent of Unix. And if you've done a little bit of Unix, you're going to have a slight advantage. It is a little bit Unix-like. It's not a full-blown, sort of Linux or other stuff like that. But just the structure and some of the commands and things like that is going to be much easier for you if you've done a little bit of Unix background. Installation complete. Reboot now. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take out our floppy, which means that this can no longer boot from the floppy. Reboot now. Yes. Starting up, and there we go. We're initializing our file system. We're loading up all our bits and pieces. Our computer is up and running. And this thing now says, like you can see under the name hard disk drive, we have OpenOS installed. Absolutely fabulous, I hear you say. Okay. So, what are we going to do next? I think what we should do next is get our Tier 2 computer up and running. Yeah. Actually, I might skip the tier 2 computer. We'll just go straight to the tier 3 one. I just wanted to show you the different case and the different things that are open, that are available in it and stuff. So let's just get rid of you, drop you in the box, ignore you completely, and here we go. Let's grab all this stuff. Oh, I don't need this around the back. It's just that I couldn't place the screen correctly when I tried. So we will need, for our computer, hard disk, memory, graphics screen, keyboard, EEPROM, good, no worries. Screen goes here, keyboard goes here, and we've got a graphics card, awesome, no worries, very good, EEPROM, and we've got a slot for a floppy disk in this particular case, which is very nice, isn't it? Turn that on. What's going on here? What's the deal? So I've got, wow, that's messed up, isn't it? And I got nothing appearing over here. That's because I've still got a connecting cable. Now this cable isn't simply a power cable, right? It's a network cable as well. Everything that happens, see, I can see, look at this, all messed up. Okay, everything that happens, this can carry power, it can carry network messages from one computer to another, it can carry information from a computer trying to use a component or item or something like that. So that's what's happened, alright? This, I'm not sure, like, it's just because this one was attached first, but this computer, instead of talking to the screen that I have for it, is now talking to this screen over here, and this one's talking to, and it's just a mess. Okay, so there is a way to partition up your network, and that is using, let me see now, what have we got here? Power distributor. Wonderful. That's what we're looking for. Oh yeah, I've got some bits and pieces from where I was doing other stuff earlier. So if I just cut this in the middle, yep, wonderful. Unrecoverable error, not enough energy. Yep, very good. Turn off, turn on. And now we're up and running. We'll just reboot this. And that's doing its thing. Wonderful. Now you might notice this computer, like I've got a smallish screen. This one, I have a much bigger screen. That's because that's a tier 1 screen and a tier 1 graphics card. This is a tier 3 screen and a tier 3 graphics card. Just for a bit of a laugh, let's turn that off. Take out the tier 1 graphics card. Turn that off. That can go anywhere. Turn on. And we're now down to a much smaller screen space. Okay. The screen tier determines the number of colors and other things like that. The graphics card determines the resolution. Alright, so let's turn that off. Put in our tier 3. Wonderful. Put that back in. Wonderful. All good. Tier 2 and 3 screens can act as touch screens. We will be dealing with touch screens later on because I do want a couple of them. Okay, so this one we are going to install. Yes. Away we go. You might notice that this is actually running a bit faster than the other one did. La 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 la. So it doesn't just do more. It does it faster as well. Installation complete. Good. I'll take that out. Reboot now. Yes. Awesome. We are now up and running. Much faster computer. Very nice. And it's all good. Okay. Let's drop this back in the box. Alright, so now one of the ways to get around your, this whole problem of stuff talking to each other is to use a distributor, but the distributor is going to stop me from sending network messages or other bits and pieces like that. One thing I think what I prefer to do is I prefer to have my power and network and stuff coming into the system from the bottom, and then my connections for the screen coming out the back. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop the video here. I'm going to rearrange my bits and pieces so that I can redo my cabling so that it's a way that I like it, and we will go from there. Alright, back in a minute. Okay, we're back. So what I've done is I've run a thing around the edge of the room. The power converter is there, the transceiver is under it. You can see I've got cable that comes up from the bottom. That will be my network cable and my power cable, and then connecting the components. You can see it's out the back here. So if I put a computer in there, then the screen just connects to the back of the computer case. The power and network connects underneath. They don't link up with each other. So I can just throw all my bits and pieces of junk in here. Turn on. And we're up and working, okay? So that's getting a computer up and running. Writing Lua programs, you've still got the same Lua editor. You can do instant coding and things like that. It's Control D to exit. You can write bits and pieces of programs, like I've got a simple little one here that I wrote earlier. It works pretty much the same way as sort of some of the ComputerCraft stuff. A few of the differences we will get into a little bit later on, but at least for the beginning, that is how to get your computers up and running. Okay, your first step computers. With the EEPROM and the floppy and all that kind of stuff, because sort of if you go and have a look at the manual, computers, also requires opens OS. One of the things it doesn't mention here at all is the need for an EEPROM with a bootloader, the Lua BIOS. So yeah, doing a couple of these basics was actually really painful. Anyway, so that is our first video, how to make your first OpenComputers computer and get it up and running and install the operating system, and things to watch out for when you're doing your cabling and power and all that kind of thing. Oh yeah, there is a couple other things. A couple of utility machines that you will need while doing your OpenComputers is, let's grab that, you will need an electronics assembler. This is used for building robots, drones, microcomputers, stuff like that. And a disassembler is also very handy. This is for taking apart robots and drones and stuff like that. I'll demonstrate how these two work, but when you're planning your room, just remember you will need a spot for your assembler, a spot for your disassembler, a chest next to your disassembler. A couple of storage crates are a good idea. A couple of boxes just so I've got all my bits and pieces for ComputerCraft just hanging around. I don't have to search for them in the system. Think about your power, how to set up your power and network and all that kind of thing, so that you're not touching components where you don't need to. And I believe that is it for our first episode. Our next episode, we're going to touch on building something called a server rack. And if you've used commercial computing equipment, you'll know exactly what that is. If you haven't, then you're going to enjoy this. Alrighty guys, have fun. I will see you later. Have a good time.